We need to find interoperability among blockchains. And I know Polkadot is attempting that. And so we're watching that very carefully because we need tokens, NFTs, to be able to jump from one blockchain to another, to participate in different games or auctions or what have you. So there's that infrastructure that has to be built, and it is being built.
Okay, let's get it. All right, guys, today we gonna hear Cathie Wood talk about the big explosive move that crypto will have. Okay, let me know you guys' opinion, what you guys think. Do you think that we're gonna have this big explosive move with crypto this year, like Cathie Wood is predicting, or do you think we're gonna go into a bearish season? Let me know in the comments, guys.
I did a study for institutional investors around the correlations between and among the various asset classes, and it's up on our site. I think we did it in 2020, and at least back then, the correlations were extremely low with every asset class. The highest was 0.34 with real estate, believe it or not. Now, the one time you will see the Bitcoin, the crypto markets highly correlated to equity markets is when there's a serious risk off. For example, I believe it was late 2018, 19, early 19, hedge funds, they were very involved with crypto, and they were in very illiquid positions. So what was the most liquid of their positions? It was Bitcoin. So Bitcoin acted just like the stock market. But for the most part, other than during those times when, when funds are too leveraged over their skis in exposure to any one market, you will see those occasional, we call them correlation to one moments, but they're usually at extremes and they're usually near the lows.
You mentioned the metaverse earlier. Do you have a sense of how quickly the metaverse, perhaps you could explain your understanding of what the metaverse is, how quickly that is likely to come upon us? One of our attendees mentions that on the Q&A that South Korea is doing a particularly strong job in this area. What are they doing that we are not doing?
Yes, well, first of all, let's describe a little bit more when we talk about NFTs, especially non-fungible tokens. So I'll explain this a little bit like I did the monetary system. So first, private, global, again, rules-based property rights system. And you could say Bitcoin fits into that kind of system too, but we're separating. So property rights system, which is, we know from the work of many economists, including Art Laffer, that property rights is the way to lift a country out of poverty. So this is a very noble concept. I think a couple of the things that have to happen, we need to find interoperability among blockchains. And I know Polkadot is attempting that. And so we're watching that very carefully because we need tokens, NFTs, to be able to jump from one blockchain to another, to participate in different games or auctions or what have you. So there's that infrastructure that has to be built, and it is being built. And as far as South Korea, we did discuss just the other day something. They have surpassed us. It might have been an NFT marketplace. I can't remember what it was. I always, whenever South Korea puts its mind to getting into a new technology, they are fearsome competitors. So it's slipping my mind how South Korea surpassed us. And I know that Axie Infinity, I believe the founders were South Korean, but the biggest uptake was in the Philippines and other countries. So I'm going to have to take a buy on this one. From our earliest days in speaking with regulators, both state and local, because we have 50 states, each has regulators, and the federal. We have, I think, 6 financial regulators. My first impression, listening to them describing what we were trying to understand and what they thought, was that no regulator wants to be blamed for preventing the US from the next big thing, the next internet. And I still think that's true, but I do think we need some regulation. There is a lot of fraud taking place. We need some protection. I will say the other thing, though, this movement towards higher thresholds for accredited investors is really rubbing new investors, the likes of whom are in our funds, the wrong way. You should have to prove, perhaps, your knowledge of the risks as opposed to have a certain income or asset threshold before you can be allowed to participate in certain markets. So I'm just throwing that out there as well, because that's another regulatory conundrum when it comes to innovation. Because in my book, the most accredited investors in our funds are these young people who really know our research and are passionate about following it and are using the technologies, as opposed to those with the higher income levels, which really don't know much. They're very index driven.
Could proper regulation increase confidence in cryptocurrency, maybe iron out some of the trading and blockchain infrastructure glitches, and perhaps attract even more investment into cryptocurrency? Or do you think it'll have a negative and dampening effect?
Well, it depends on the country. Some countries want to stamp it out, right? Other companies want to invite it. And that's been a good tension if you believe in free markets and not too much regulation. It's been a good tension for our own regulators. They see other countries, Singapore, Australia, UK, eager to bring, and UK especially after Brexit, eager to bring innovation into their countries. So it does put a bit of a brake on our regulators. I've seen it in other areas. The FAA, when we first started the company in 2014, said drones weren't going to be a consideration for years. So Amazon took its drones over to India and Australia and Hong Kong and so forth, and the FAA saw the light. I think the same thing is happening with crypto. We've gotten to know some of the regulators, and I'm very impressed at what they know and the technology DNA they are bringing into the discussion at the SEC. Gary Gensler at the SEC, having been, he'd been at MIT working, I think he was a professor in the blockchain space. He sees the power of the technology. And I think at the end of the day, he wants to regulate it, but regulate it in a way that it leads to great success for the United States in this new area of innovation.